Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and for those new here, hi, my name's Alani. If you'd like to see how I went from this to this, please keep watching. For this DIY, you will need 3 large eggs, 3 wooden dowels, 3 Easter buckets in the colors of your choice. I chose pink, blue, and yellow. Some decorative ribbon. They are so cute they match the buckets. Some floral moss or craft moss, green and brown acrylic paint, some floral foam. The Dollar Tree I went to ran out of the block floral foam, so I just got 2 circular ones and put those together. And some glues and brushes. The first step is to glue all the seams where the eggs meet, just because later we're going to be drilling a hole into the bottom and we don't want it to just crack right open. To make sure all of my foam are the same height, I just put those 2 circular pieces together and put them against the block floral foam, and then I made a line around it with a Sharpie, and then I just cut the top of that off with a pair of scissors. Using the hot glue gun again, I glued the bottom of the buckets, and then I glued the bottom of the foam and smushed those together for a few seconds. And then for the circular ones, I just glued those 2 pieces together so they kind of matched, and then I did the exact same thing I did with the square floral foam. I mixed together 2 green paints to make this like mossy green color. I only painted one side of the eggs because I didn't need to paint the back of them because that was already green. I just wanted to make sure that if any of the moss didn't cover the entire egg and you could see a little bit of the back, that it would kind of look green and match. So here I am being a little extra, making a stain for these wooden dowels. You could leave the dowels the color they already are, but I like a darker wood. So I'm just mixing brown acrylic paint with some water and then covering the entire dowels and wiping that off with a paper towel. And you just sit there, let them dry for a few hours, and they have a stain to them. And don't worry about saturating the ends of the dowels. One end will go into the base of the floral foam and the other end will go into the egg itself, so you don't have to worry about the ends of them being that covered. And here I am just putting them on a piece of floral foam to dry. After my egg had dried, it was time to make a circular hole for the dowel to go in, so I just used an old dowel that I had in the old pack I used when I did an old DIY, and I just traced that with a Sharpie and got that ready to be drilled. Honestly, I'm really happy that I glued the seams together because when I was drilling into it, it felt like it wanted to crack open, but it was perfect, and I just made multiple holes until I had the perfect hole for the dowel. So I wanted moss for the top of my buckets, and the easiest way to do so was, instead of filling the entire bucket with moss, just making it look like there was moss filled to the top by putting it all on a piece of cardboard. So here I am just tracing the bucket onto some cardboard. At first I messed up because there wasn't enough room, so then I did it in a zigzag motion and I was able to make all 3 of the circles fit. Using those same green paints from earlier, I paint the cardboard where these circles are. I just painted a light coat because it really didn't matter if it was really opaque or not, because I'm going to cover the entire thing with moss. But just in case any of the moss doesn't cover anything, it looks green underneath, just like the eggs. After that dried, I just cut out all my circles. Then it was time for the moment of truth to see if it fit, and it fit perfectly. I really like these buckets because the insides of them have like this little edge where it held the cardboard in place. I just used a pencil to mark where I thought the middle was, and then I traced around the dowel. Using my X-Acto knife, I just put a bunch of X's inside where the hole is. I'm not going to cut that into a hole because I really want it to hold the dowel in place. So all I'm doing is making a bunch of slices, kind of like a pizza, but not cutting around the entire circle itself. After all my slices were done, I put my extra dowel in there to see if it fit snugly, and it did. So I already did 2 of these off camera, and here I am just showing you guys how I do the last one. I started where the dowel's supposed to go in and just put a bunch of hot glue in the middle and then covered that with moss, and I just did the rest of it all by sections. So of course, as always, I like to make my life a lot harder than it needs to be, and instead of using a moss runner or like flat moss, I use moss from a bag. This is what I had at my local Dollar Tree, but if I could do this part over again, I definitely would have used a moss runner. It's basically like a piece of paper with moss all over it because this stuff got everywhere. I was vacuuming it so much, it was insane. So if you want to make your life easier and not do what I did, go for a moss runner. Then it was time to cover all the eggs. Just make sure not to cover the hole where the dowel's supposed to go in, and just do it all by sections. After all the eggs were covered in moss, I just realized that a lot of the moss was falling off, and it was kind of upsetting because little pieces were falling here and there. So I just covered the entire thing in Mod Podge to make sure everything was like sealed together. Of course, I could have used a spray sealant or even spray glue to make sure everything stuck together, but this part was just so fun to do. I just marinated like the entire egg in this like Mod Podge. It was super sticky and fun, and it did take a while to dry, but the end result was perfect. Okay, we are almost done, guys. For one of my last parts, I'm going to put the moss on top of the bucket and push the dowel through it. And I'm just trying to see how far down I want the dowel to be. Then I remove the dowel, I remove the moss, and I see how far in the hole is. And I use a pencil to mark it on my dowel, so all my dowels will be in the foam and the exact same height. I used marbles to weigh down my buckets. The top of the eggs have some weight to them, and I didn't want the buckets to knock over, especially if it's going to be windy and I put these outside. You could easily use rocks, but marbles are what I had. And then after I put all the marbles in, I just put all those moss tops back on. I put my stained dowels into the buckets to see how far down I would want my eggs to be on the dowels themselves. Once I figured that out, I just marked one of them with a pencil, and then I marked all the rest of them with a pencil so all the eggs would be at the same height. And here are my eggs all dried. The Mod Podge really did its thing, and there's a lot less fallout. Of course, I made sure not to cover the holes for the dowels to go in, and then I put the dowels in to where I marked that little line with a pencil and glued that in place. The last decorative step for this DIY is to put some ribbon at the base of the eggs. I found this ribbon at the Dollar General along with the buckets, and I thought they matched perfectly. So all I did was grab the ribbon, pick the size I wanted, and made sure all the ribbon were the exact same size, and then I just put bows on the base of all the eggs on the dowels. After all my bows were on, the very last step was to cut the ends of them at an angle. You could leave them as they are, but I really like that angled look, so that's what I did. And here I am putting all of them in their own buckets. I love the way these turned out. I thought they were so cute. They kind of remind me of Alice in Wonderland with like the topiary they have going on. You know how Alice in Wonderland always had that. I love them so much. If you guys do recreate this, please tag me at Alani DLC because I would love to see any recreations you guys make. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not, share with friends, and I hope you guys have a happy Easter, and I will see you guys next time.